So welcome to Leadership English. I'm so excited to have you as a guest. Could you please begin by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. My name is Elena Rezanova. I'm a career strategist with 13 years in this role and more than 20 years in the field. I write books. I also write for big magazines such as Forbes, Woman, and Fast Company, and I run educational workshops. But the biggest part of my work is one-to-one sessions with individuals, with people who are going through career transitions. And what else? I live in Luxembourg with my family, and I work globally. So this is pretty much it about myself.
Well, thank you so much. And I know you and I met a few years ago, and one of the things that I have always believed about your work is that it should be in English, because I think you, and I say, I've told you before, I mean this genuinely, I think your expertise is so valuable, and it's such a universal pain that you address. So what has finally encouraged you to branch into the English market?
So my readers encouraged me. So this is my fourth book, and before I wrote 3 books in Russian. Mm-hmm. And my readers kept asking me again and again, when would I translate them in English or write the new one? And so, but because they wanted their friends and colleagues and partners to read them. So one day I realized, okay, seems like my desire is stronger than my fears and my perfectionism. So be it. And that was that moment when I decided the time is now.
And that is, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because the perfectionism, which we often feel drives us. I feel like a lot of us, myself included, I think like, no, perfectionism makes me the way that I am. But it really can limit ourselves. And so I noticed, at least from my perspective of your work, I noticed you started posting on LinkedIn in English. Is that kind of where you started feeling out the English content writing?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And how long did it take you to realize, okay, maybe I can do the whole book in English?
Maybe I believe that decision was that came first. I have to write. I want to write a book in English, and then I realized that I have to write in English. So it should be posts. It should be short notes. It should be something like articles, and then. And while writing this, I will be working on my book. So it was like 2 processes in parallel.
Okay. So you were able to like work, because for me, what I find is interesting is that when you put yourself online, because whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or anywhere, even if technically nobody really reads it, the fact that you put it out there, I feel like really accelerates the confidence building, because you have to face your fears in this weird accelerated platform. Did that help you? You know what? How terrifying was it? Because I have so many people who are like, I'm too scared. Like, this is not, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. What was that for you?
It's still terrifying. And to be totally honest, I don't think that there will be one day when I would say, oh, I'm absolutely confident. I'm so happy. I'm so wonderful. Look at me, guys. I don't think I should get rid of my fears and my insecurities, because they're actually helpful. So I know it might sound strange, but I believe it's actually helpful. And for example, my greatest sin is that I am an over-explainer. Being aware of it helps me to control it, to notice it, and to control it. And by the way, Tanya, thank you so much. Thank you, because it was you who pointed this out to me and gave me that best piece of advice. And if you remember or not, I'm not sure. That advice was, get them the gold, give them the gold,
Yes.
give them the gold. And that was,
don't waste time with the silver and the bronze. I was like,
yes,
go for the gold.
give them the gold. That was so simple, but so, I don't know.
It's hard.
Yes, the hardest part of it.
Yeah.
But that was the best advice. The best advice. Thank you for that.
Oh, I'm so glad that helped, because I really enjoy your content, the way that you've, and for everybody listening, I'll include the link to her LinkedIn, because that's where you post the most, right?
Yeah.
Your storytelling has really evolved. And so I think that that's interesting, that when you allow yourself to break through that perfectionism and you see, like, I see the way that you describe your craft, and I see that way your expertise is you put it out there, has evolved also. And I think it's exciting that it'll never be perfect, because it shouldn't be. Like, we're always getting smarter and getting new ideas and learning. So I think that's wonderful for people listening and thinking, like, will I ever not be afraid? And you realize, like, oh, that's not the goal. Like, be afraid and do it anyway.
That's not the goal, for sure.
Yeah, like, you just
gotta. And if you have something, sorry for interrupt. If you have something bigger than you, if you have your, I hope it's not too much. If you have your mission, if you feel your mission, if you feel your reason why you're doing what you're doing, it's so helpful. It's so helpful. And for me, the best driver. So what was the bigger thing, bigger than my fears, is my readers. And I know I know why I am writing all my books and articles and all this content, because of them.
When you take it out of yourself, because as much as we want to be self-critical, if you think about, but I can help them. It's okay if there's a grammar mistake. Like, they still need what I have to put out there. Okay. And actually, speaking of your readers, can you tell us a little bit more, as we are going into your book and your tips that you have? Who are your readers? Like, who's your ideal audience for this book?
So I wrote this book for people I know best, those going through career transitions and figuring out what's next for them. They are corporate employees, they are self-employed professionals, independent professionals, they are entrepreneurs. And what they all have in common, I believe, is that they are achievers, and they are purpose-driven, solution-oriented. Some of them, I think majority of them, are perfectionists, and they want to invest their life with into something truly meaningful for them. And that's why the subtitle is The Playbook for Achievers, Rethinking Their Career Path. And
You're like, I see you. This is for you.
Yes. And so this is very much about myself. And I believe, Tanya, that your audience, so we more or less share the same audience. I believe nobody comes to you saying, oh, I want to read Shakespeare in the original. No, I think people come to you with next big goal in mind. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you agree?
They all want 100%, because it's the high performer, the high achiever. But with that comes, I always find it's really interesting, because I feel like with the people that you and I work with, it's as badass and amazing as they are, it comes with a lot of insecurity as well. I think when you have so much potential, because really, like, the people that are in these positions, they're smart, intellectual, they have potential, they have connections. So then I think where you kind of pivot is like, well, what do you do with that? If you can do anything, where do you go? Okay, so now that we know who the book is for, what inspired you to help this particular moment in that career? Because of all the facets, this book really focuses on, I think, when you're at those crossroads, right? Like, where you're not really sure what the next step is. Was there a particular inspiration? Is this what you find people struggle with the most?
Okay, let's go with inspiration. You know, my own experience of reinventing myself inspired me. I believe.
Oh,
So, you know, 13 years ago, and you know this story, I'd like to share it with
of
our
course.
listeners, with our audience. 13 years ago, we moved from Moscow to Paris. My husband transitioned from being a corporate project manager to becoming a chef de cuisine, chef de French cuisine.
So
And
he pivoted hard.
pivoted hard,
That's
yes, yes, yes.
amazing.
And I started working independently. So in the same field, but I started working independently. And I was before I was a talent professional, and and career transitions, career development, etc. That was the biggest part of my topic of my work. But and I was so sure that I knew what to expect, but the transition turned out to be such a nightmare, to be such a roller coaster, that we almost lost our minds. And I decided that, okay, if I survive one day, I definitely, I'm writing a book about it. I'm writing a book about it because it's such a, it's something really, really, I don't know how to, ups and downs, and
Like a roller
all these
coaster.
really high ups and really deep downs. And but by the way, I believe you have experienced the same. You have experience going
Oh,
through
yeah.
career transitions yourself. I think so.
Career highs and lows for sure. There are
Yes.
times where I'm like, is this the right move for me? Why did I do this? And then like success comes and you're like, oh, this is why I did it. Okay, it's fine.
And what was the most difficult part for you, by the way, if you mind me asking?
Yeah, I would say for me, what would be the hardest? The hardest part, because I've done several career transitions. Most people don't realize that I started my career in public relations, and then I got into education, and then I got into online education, and then business development. I think the hardest for me was I was really unhappy at a certain point in my life. And it was when being a digital nomad started becoming a thing. And I remember telling my wife, I'm like, if I can figure out our finances, would you go and travel the world with me if we can like build our businesses online? And she said yes. And we sold everything. And it was the highest of highs. I'm exploring the world, living in different countries. And then the lowest of lows, like her company shut down the first month we were abroad. I was trying to build a business on my own with like very limited tools. So it was like crying our eyes out, being like, did we do the right thing? You know, we're in our 30s, or we sacrificing career growth. And then being like the happiest we've ever been, appreciating like the connections of the world. So that was a roller coaster.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. For sure. So we know firsthand what we're talking about.
Yeah. So well, you know what? And out of curiosity, was the roller coaster more for you? Like, what was because your husband was also making a huge change. Was his a little smoother? Was it more you? Was it both of you?
No, for both of us, of course. For both of us. And fortunately, I think that's maybe was the best thing, the best part of it. So when I was inspired and when I was fine, he was low, down, deep down, and then
So
vice versa. And that was like a perfect balance. So when one is like
one is down, the other is up.
Yes, when one is down, another is the other one is up. Yes, definitely.
Look, if a marriage can survive those phases in life, it's tough, but it really makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had no idea who he was before. I mean, in that positive meaning.
Yeah.
And I think for him as well. So you really what's at least one great thing, not one, but one of the greatest thing, the greatest outcome of this process, that you rediscover yourself, and you rediscover your partner, and you rediscover your relationships. You rediscover all this stuff, like you.
So true.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting process. Highly recommended.
Yeah. Okay, but that's really helpful because I think something that keeps people from even getting to this point where you're now going to show it, like teaches the tools. But I think a lot of people are, whether it's being risk averse or scared, or there's a perception that stability is the only form of like existence, but reminding people like, oh, it can be exciting. It can also be good. Like you rediscover yourself. That's so, I love that you said that because that's so reinvigorating. We don't stop and then like retire and play golf. Like there's more to life than just that. Okay, so then tell me a little bit about how do you start? So if someone has that moment of like, okay, I think I want to make a change, what do you recommend they focus on first? When doing a career pivot, what would be the best? Because I think it can be really overwhelming when you want to change your career.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. Yes, and I believe in, so there are many overwhelming things in our life, in the life of a good professional, in the life of a high achiever. So yeah, I think it's just accepting that some things might be overwhelming and being okay with that. It's the biggest part, I believe, because once you normalize this stuff, once you get it once you see it as a norm, you're fine with that. Okay, and you're just navigating this process without any additional feelings such as shame or guilt or imposter syndrome or all this stuff. You see, this is just a part of this game, and I want to play this game, and I embrace this part. I'm okay with it.
So what would you say is because I know like with books, you want the reader to have their own experience, of course, but as the author and your intention, what are some takeaways that you hope people appreciate or use from reading your book?
Yeah. So when I wrote this book, I focused on the most pressing career transition questions, such as, just a few of them, such as, who am I? Or what's my passion, by the way? Or what do I really, really, really want? Or where am I headed? And some big ifs are like, what if I'm making a mistake? Or what if it's too late to change something? Or what if I'm not good enough, etc. So I decided to organize this book around these big questions, and every chapter is so one question is a chapter. Every chapter is a question. It's devoted to one question, and I hope that every chapter gives readers the most effective ways to find their own answers. And I think the main takeaways would be their own insights. I hope the main takeaways would be their own insights. I just can guide them through this process. I can't give them I share my insights and I share a lot of stories, but I believe the whole point of this book is to help them to guide them through this maze of rethinking and making this decision. But there are also a few key ideas behind the book, and I think I want to share 3 of them.
Please do.
First of all, guys, I want to tell every reader, you are not alone. Look at the stories of these amazing people I share with you, and believe me, you're going to make it through too. That will be, you will find your answer. You will make your decision that works for you. So you are not alone. You're not alone here. And I think this emotional part is very important, because sometimes we feel that it's just our struggle. we feel lonely, and some people don't even understand us. Don't sometimes even our partners don't get what's going on. What's wrong with you? Why are you thinking? What's wrong with you? Everything is fine. Look at you. You should be proud of yourself, but you don't proud of yourself anymore. You feel that something is missing, and you feel something's wrong with me, really. So no, you're not alone. This is just all this roller coaster, and yeah, many great people, many amazing people, many achievers, they've been through this as well. This is my first. I hope this would be the first and biggest support and takeaway for our readers. And second, I want them to recognize that careers are non-linear and multi-staged. And transitions, including all these what's next moments and crossroads and all this stuff, transitions are completely normal. And these moments are not mistakes in your previous planning, guys. They're not mistakes. So it's just a normal part. But I would say more, they are great opportunities to step back and redefine what truly matters to you now. And please remember, your career should reflect your very, very personal vision of success and your own sense of self. So, and transition gives us this opportunity to align our career with ourselves.
So I'll stop you there for a second, because I really like what you said about your own personal definition of success. Yes. Because I think we get caught up in what success means.
Yeah.
So to take the time and think, does that mean more zeros on my paycheck? Does it mean more time with my kids? Does it mean more like travel? I think is a huge part of the pivot, when you let go of the society's definition and figure out, like, well, what do I want?
Yeah, for sure. And we're always evolving. And like, if I ask you 5 years, if I ask you now, what are your role models? Who you're looking up to now? Whose success inspires you the most now? And you would give me the list of people. Maybe, I hope, at least 1 or 2, 3 examples. But if I ask you the same question 5 years ago and 10 years ago and 15 years ago, whatever, the answer might be different, very different, because our understanding of success, our understanding of who we are is changing all the time. And it might change significantly since we last time made a plan. And we can't even notice it until, I don't know, one day, all of a sudden, it just hit us, and we think, oh my goodness, I'm not happy anymore. I think something is missing. I've been climbing this ladder for 5 or 10 or 12 or whatever years, and now I don't feel that it makes sense for me. And this, how you realize that you are different. You have a different sense of self. You have a different sense of purpose. You have a different sense of meaning. And congratulations, you are in that challenging time when you have to redefine everything. Yeah, and you have to decide what's next for you. And that was about that second takeaway. So try to understand your personal vision of success and your sense of self. But third, I want to challenge the myth that simply choosing the right profession will make everything fall into place. No. Our experience in any profession is shaped by many interconnected factors, and most of them are very contextual. So both internal and external. Sometimes the smallest things, even your sleep deprivation, or even your conflict with your colleague, or something like that. And small thing can kill your joy at work, and you start asking, you start questioning, if I'm in the right career, if this field is right or wrong for me, should I change, should I stay, or should I go? And you can't even understand that this is just one thing you feel the impact of this thing, because our relationship with our work, it's all about feelings, it's all about senses, it's all about tiny, subtle things. And sometimes it's really difficult to see the whole picture. And I have many cases when people came to me and say, I want to change this career, just I hate it. But the reason, the root, and the problem was not the whole career. It was like one, two, normally just one, two
pieces
things.
of it.
Pieces of it, yes. So let's learn to make best decisions. Let's learn to see the bigger picture. And this is one case here in the book, a case of Emma, happy but not happy, unhappy, successful but unhappy professional. And I decided to show this as a case, so that readers see that links, that connection, to see career as a system, because career and our fulfillment is a system. It is a system. And see all these entities. And so I think so many people already sent me great feedbacks on this part, because understanding what's going on, and seeing the bigger picture, seeing the whole picture, and making right decisions, making good decisions is a skill. And I don't think it's a soft skill anymore, to be honest. So let's learn this. Let's learn how to understand what's going on with ourselves, how to understand the reason why we're unhappy, how to make best decisions for us, and how to navigate this crazy process, and I don't know, it shouldn't be that hard. And I hope I help people to survive at least, and to thrive in it, and to make the most of it.
Well, I like what you said about it being a system and a skill that you can learn, because I feel like for your audience, and for myself, as I think I am your audience, that resonates of like, okay, if there's a process, I can do it. But when it's this like bigger, like, just a career change, and it feels so out of reach. But when you systemize it and you're giving people like, okay, think about yourself, think about your passion, I feel like that really gives peace to the process. You kind of intellectualize something that can feel overwhelming and emotional, and making it in a very pragmatic approach. Do you have any other examples of other people who've done pivots that worked with you, maybe what their fears were, or any surprising outcomes, or anything that they've gone through that we can learn from? Like you mentioned, Emma.
Yes, I start this book with 3 stories. And the first story is, the first protagonist is Lisa. She's a marketing executive, and she's a rock star. But we see her in that strange moment when she decided not to apply for a new role, because something doesn't feel right anymore for her. And she was always she always knew what she what she wants, but at that time she is a bit lost. And so Lisa is a corporate star, and the second hero of the book, second story, is a story of Amir. And Amir is a designer. He is an independent professional, and he started on his own, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not sure, but yes, it's here. It's here. This information is here.
For the details, go to the book.
Yes, after these years, he just came to conclusion that maybe this job, I mean this field in general, the design, this job is not for him. He is not cut for this job. Why? And he just pushed himself through every day in order to perform, in order to earn money, in order to just
survive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But these big questions in his mind: what do I really want? And the third guy is Feng. And Feng is a co-founder of a startup. And at that time, when we started the book, when we met him first, their startup was bought by a bigger company, and he get that senior role in this company and everything. So by any measure, he is highly successful. He's really cool, and he's even brilliant, but he is absolutely unhappy. And he tries to figure out what comes next for him. Why his partner, that co-founder, is really inspired by this deal and thriving in that new environment. What's wrong with me? He's thinking. And these stories, I decided to tell about transitions, about this process through these 3 stories, and I added many more examples. And I hope, let me just put some hook here. I hope that outcomes, how every Lisa, Emir, and Feng, how it ends up, that will be not surprising. I'm not talking about, it's not shocking, of course, but thought-provoking, at least for people, for the readers, because it's not. I hope why it's so provoking, because it's never obvious decisions. They haven't made obvious decisions for them. Their decisions are different, but what kind of decision they finally made and how they ended up in their career at that time. It's not the end of their career, of course. I hope it would be really interesting to read. And I believe that these guys, so our readers can relate to these guys. And I don't want to tell their stories just in short, because it's more...
the nuance, I think, is important. Their journey,
yes,
for the thought-provocation.
The journey, feelings, different feelings, all these, different aspects of every situation, and fears, and everything, and their own insights. So everything is it's a great material. It's a great examples to learn.
Good.
To learn with, or to learn from, to learn
both. To learn with them, to learn from them. Both prepositions will work in this case. Yes. So I hope that everybody is also, if you're in that moment of you're feeling alone, or you're feeling guilty because I think some part of it's guilt too. How dare I not be happy with this level? So if that's where you are now, I highly encourage you to read The Playbook for Achievers: Rethinking Their Career Path, and get the tools and get the inspiration from other people's stories. And I thank you not only for being here, but for finally putting your work in English. And before we go, speaking of English, how do you feel now that because for you, this is kind of a career pivot too, because now you're officially global. English gives us that ability. Do you feel nervous, excited, other emotion?
I feel very vulnerable, and I want to ask you, can we burn this record when we finish?
Just bury it in the digital.
Yes.
Well, how did you feel? Is this your first official interview in English?
Yes, absolutely. This is my first official. I have many. So I meet many people here in Luxembourg, because this is just my third month in Luxembourg, and I'm so excited to meet great people, and I use every opportunities to meet one-to-one or on some events and share my ideas and know people, and yes, it's conversations. Many conversations are going on now, but in this setup, this is my first ever interview, and oh my goodness.
You survived it.
I can't even explain how do I feel now. I feel vulnerable, and I think, yes, as I told you before, I write better than I speak. But I believe without this experience, I would still. So the only desire to dig a hole and die sometimes when you feel. But
I love how honest you are.
yes, but there's no sense in this desire. It's just an outdated patterns that I don't even respect anymore. So yeah, I'm so happy. Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking all these questions. Thank you for letting me be so imperfect, so vulnerable, so over explaining. Thank you for that.
No, actually, you did really well. You kept it concise. You kept in the path. And for those of you who don't know, I actually met her. We worked together years ago, but ever since I met you, I've kept tabs on your career. I follow you on LinkedIn because I feel there's something really special about your work. And I would always like, when are you going to write in English? When are you going to write in English? Planting the seed. So I knew the second you did, I wanted to be a huge supporter of you. I hope that people find your work through this, and that now you also feel more confident maybe going on other podcasts and interviews in English, and just knowing that you can.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, and now I feel it's a different level of existence.
Yeah.
After this conversation, yes, this is how we evolving. This is how we evolving. Just thank you for that.
And like any other communication thing, every time you talk about your book in English, anytime you talk about anything, it's going to get better and better and better. So don't think about it as, oh man, that was bad. Like, no, that means you did it, so it can only get better.
Yes.
Look at that book. I'm so proud of you. Hopefully the first of many English books. Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode. And I'll put all the links in the video notes and in the podcast notes so that you can reach out, connect, and also buy the book. Thank you very much.